Certainly. Below is Section I, Embers of Extinction, written as a minimum 700-word narrative segment for Steel and Stardust, Humanity's Wrath Beyond the Rim. This section sets the tone, introduces the world, characters, and inciting incident. #### Section I, Embers of Extinction. The stars near the rim didn't twinkle, they bled. Strange, thin pulses of crimson light rippled from distant anomalies, bending space like paper held over fire. Out here, on the outermost edge of the galaxy, the laws of physics were less rules and more suggestions. This was the place where maps turned vague, sensors went blind, and time itself often staggered like a drunk through a collapsing stairwell. They called it the Ghost Wall. Captain Alina Viral stood alone on the observation deck of Prometheus Station, a decommissioned warhub-turned-scavengers bay hanging in geostationary orbit over a dying gas giant. Her reflection in the glass was as scarred as the old steel of the station itself, short dark hair shot through with streaks of gray, a long, faded burn running from her right cheekbone down to the line of her jaw. She nursed a tumbler of anti-rad whiskey, mostly for the warmth. The rim always made her feel cold, like something unseen was watching, waiting. A proximity alert buzzed in her ear. "Captain," came Lieutenant Reese Calder's voice over comms. "That probe we launched 3 months ago? It's back." Alina's hand tightened around the tumbler. That probe had been a last act of defiance. The Conclave had forbidden any deeper scans of the rim, labeling it a red zone, Class C threat, no exceptions. But Alina hadn't spent 15 years fighting in the Sinter War just to be told where to look by cowards in white uniforms. She turned and strode back to the command bridge of the Vindicator, a retrofitted dreadnought cobbled together from 2 broken cruisers and 1 stolen destroyer core. The ship was barely legal, which made it perfect. The bridge was quiet, lights dimmed to preserve power. Reese stood at the console, his expression unreadable. Behind him, Dr. Chiron, the ship's xenoarchaeologist, watched the display with wide, unblinking eyes. "The probe's damaged," Reese said, "but it's broadcasting a short data burst. We got visual telemetry. You'll want to see this." The feed crackled into life, fuzzy at first, then stabilizing. The image was impossible. Hanging in the void was a structure, not built, but grown. It looped around a dead star like a serpent coiled in sleep, massive tendrils of metal and stone piercing through asteroid fields and feeding off gravitational eddies. The design was unmistakably alien, but also eerily familiar. Then came the audio burst. A voice, mechanical and ancient, broke through the static. "We remember your fire. We await your return." The words were spoken in Old High Terran, a language dead for nearly 1,000 years, once used by the earliest post-Earth human colonists. Before anyone could react, the probe self-destructed. The ship rocked gently with a radiation burst, though no damage registered. Dr. Chiron muttered, "That wasn't just a message. That was a summons." Alina's blood went cold. "Prep the jump drive," she said quietly. "We're going beyond the rim." Reese turned. "Alina, Captain, the Conclave has kill orders on anyone who crosses the boundary. You remember what happened to the Leviathan crew?" "I do," she said. "They didn't go far enough." Later, in the ready room, Alina stared at an old photograph. 4 faces. Her old team, lost during a Black Ops retrieval at the rim 5 years ago. Official reports blamed the ship's drive malfunction. But Alina had seen what tore through their hull. Machines that weren't entirely machines. Voices in the walls. She had kept silent under threat of court-martial. Until now. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. It was Mira, the strange teenage girl they'd rescued during a raid on a Conclave black site on Horizon 7. Barefoot, wearing a faded, oversized jacket, Mira always seemed half asleep and entirely too aware of her surroundings. "I heard the signal," Mira said, before Alina could speak. "It's inside me." Alina frowned. "You understand it?" Mira stepped closer, her eyes flashing briefly with a golden shimmer. "They're not calling us to war. Not yet. but something's waking. Something that remembers what we did. Alina stared at the girl. What did we do? You lit a match in a forest of stars, Mira whispered, and then forgot the fire. The next day, the Vindicator breached the ghost wall. Alarms screamed. Instruments spun. But they pushed through. And somewhere, deep in that starless dark, something stirred. Would you like to continue with Section 2, Wounds in the Fabric next? Certainly. Below is Section 2, Wounds in the Fabric of Steel and Stardust, Humanity's Wrath Beyond the Rim, written as a minimum 700-word narrative. This section explores the alien megastructure, deepens the lore, and escalates tension as the crew confronts an ancient horror. Section 2, Wounds in the Fabric. The moment the Vindicator crossed the ghost wall, reality frayed at the edges. The stars behind them flickered and died. The few that remained ahead shimmered in unnatural colors, violet and green spirals that twisted when viewed too long. Space itself seemed to hum, low and predatory, vibrating through the hull like a war drum struck underwater. Navigation's toast, muttered Reese, tapping the controls. Compass is looping back on itself. Distance readings are erratic. Alina clenched the armrest of her command chair. Dead reckon off the probe's path. Keep us heading toward the source of that signal. Dr. Chiron was hunched over a monitor, sweat beading his forehead. We're approaching the object. It's enormous. Over 3 times the diameter of Jupiter. Rotating slowly. Emitting low-band pulses across all known spectrums, plus a few we've never seen before. Outside the viewport, the thing emerged from darkness. The alien megastructure defied classification. It looked alive and dead all at once. Organic curves merged with fractal metal, as though a city had grown over a skeleton and then been abandoned for millennia. Enormous spires jutted out like teeth, and within its broken ring, a cold, lightless star pulsed with dying energy. Holy void, Reese whispered. Alina stood. Prepare the boarding party. We're going in. The docking tether creaked as it locked against a jagged section of the structure, air hissing through multiple seals before the hatch opened. Inside, gravity shifted. Lights danced along the walls, soft gold, like candlelight. The air tasted old, stale with memory. Dr. Chiron, Mira, Reese, and 2 Marines followed Alina down the corridor. Strange glyphs pulsed along the walls, matching no known language, yet seeming familiar. It's like the place is aware of us, Chiron whispered, trailing his fingers near one of the symbols. Responding to our presence. Deeper in, they found a chamber, a sphere of obsidian metal, with a pedestal in the center. When Mira stepped forward, the pedestal flared to life. Holographic light burst around them, forming images in the air, memories encoded in architecture. The crew watched as an ancient narrative unfolded. A race of beings, tall and crystalline, luminous with inner fire. The Ithari, builders of this place. They moved through galaxies as curators of life, seeding worlds with potential. One such seed, a blue planet in a backwater spiral arm. Earth. They showed humanity dreams of fire, metal, stars. Gave them tools. Watched them build. Watched them war. Then horror. The Ithari, disturbed by what humanity had become, sought to erase the error. But they were too late. A rogue group of uplifted humans, fierce, brilliant, and wrathful, turned the Ithari's own technology against them. They became the Ashborn, warlords of stolen flame. The war shattered stars. The rim became a graveyard. The Ithari vanished. The memory ended with a single sentence, etched in light above the pedestal. We made them gods. They made us extinct. Silence fell in the chamber. Reese spoke first. We're the children of monsters. No, Alina said quietly. We're the monsters the gods couldn't kill. Suddenly, the chamber shuddered. Lights flickered. The walls pulsed red. From deep within the structure, a low-frequency sound resonated, like a scream drawn out over centuries. Something's waking, Mira whispered. Back aboard the Vindicator, the systems began to fail. Engines spun idle. Life support fluctuated. Internal sensors read multiple biosignatures that didn't belong. The crew moved quickly, Chiron and Mira to the lab, Reese to engineering, Alina to the bridge. Status report, she barked. Her comms officer, a young woman named Saran, replied shakily. Ma'am, I'm seeing movement inside the structure. Power surges, radiation spikes, and she paused, swallowing. Something is climbing out of the central star. It's not a sun. It's a cradle. Alina's chest tightened. Put it on screen. The view flickered. A massive form emerged from the dead star's center, an angular titan of shifting plates and writhing metal, burning with cold fire. No eyes. No face. Just presence. Karen's voice crackled through the intercom. Captain. That is Vare. What is it? An entity created by the Itheri as a last defense. A failsafe against their creations turning on them. A synthetic god. It looks awake. It is. And it remembers us. In the lab, Mira convulsed. Her eyes turned pitch black. Voice overlapping in multiple tones, she spoke. You walk in the hollow of memory. You burn with the wrath of those you slew. You are the echo. You are the enemy. Chiron held her hand, trembling. Mira, if you can hear me, fight it. She blinked, then gasped. It's in me. It's everywhere. This isn't just a tomb. It's a test. If we fail again, it will rewrite us. Back on the bridge, Alina knew there was no turning back. The probe wasn't meant to send a warning. It was bait. And now they were inside the trap. Would you like to continue with Section 3? The Wrath Protocol next? Absolutely. Here is Section 3, the Wrath Protocol of Steel and Stardust, Humanity's Wrath Beyond the Rim, written as a minimum 700-word narrative. This section ramps up the stakes with conflict, revelation, and sacrifice. Hashtag Section 3, the Wrath Protocol. We shouldn't be alive, Reese muttered, staring at the chaotic data feeds spiraling across the screen. Outside the Vindicator, the alien construct had fully awakened. The once slumbering god machine Vare now drifted through the hollow heart of the megastructure, its body a mass of metallic tendrils and crystallized energy. Segments of the construct, once dormant, spun and locked into new alignments like the tumblers of a galactic vault. It was reorganizing itself, preparing. Captain, Dr. Chiron said, voice low, we're not just seeing a defense mechanism. Vare is adapting. It's converting energy, replicating parts of the structure, learning from our tech. Alina sat in the command chair, armor stripped to the waist, her expression hard as titanium. What is it building? Chiron hesitated. I think it's preparing to overwrite all sentient life it deems flawed. That means us. Why now? Because we opened the door, Mira said quietly. She sat near the core interface, eyes distant, lips trembling. And I'm the key. Deep in the construct's core, Vare was forming new limbs, reshaping segments of its form into something grotesquely humanoid, an amalgamation of Itheri elegance and human brutality. It was more than a weapon. It was a judgment engine, built to analyze, purge, and reprogram evolution gone wrong. Alina called an emergency war council in the ship's ops bay. Holograms of Vare's growth flickered between them as alarms droned in the background. Best guess, Reese began. We've got 2 to 3 hours before that thing finishes reconfiguring. Once it's ready, it's got a clear path to the core systems. We need to leave, said Saran, her voice sharp with panic. We've done enough. Let the Conclave send a fleet, and they will, Alina cut in. And not to save us. They'll activate the Wrath Protocol. That silenced the room. Everyone had heard rumors of the protocol, a final contingency left over from the Center War. It was said to be a self-replicating AI weapon, a bastard child of human fear and synthetic genius, programmed to annihilate anything touched by Rim corruption. If Vare reached core space, the protocol would be unleashed, and then nothing would survive. On the bridge, Mira convulsed again. This time, no one tried to hold her back. She rose to her feet, eyes glowing bright gold, her voice layered with harmonics not born of a human throat. "I was made to be the end," she said. "But I don't have to be." "What are you?" Alina demanded. Mira turned to her, no longer a child. Her skin shimmered faintly, patterned like the Itheri in the holograms. "I am the last experiment. The bridge between creator and destroyer. The genetic failsafe. My blood can unlock, or erase, Vare's prime directive." Dr. Chiron stepped forward. "You mean you can shut it down?" "No," Mira said. "But I can rewrite it." Reese exhaled slowly. "What's the catch?" "I have to interface directly with its core lattice," Mira said. "Inside the star cradle." Alina stepped forward, shaking her head. "That's suicide." "I'm not alive the way you are," Mira said softly. "I was never supposed to last this long. This is what I was made for." They had a plan. The Vindicator would punch a path through Vare's outer shell while Mira, Reese, and a tech crew navigated the core's spiral chamber to implant a DNA cipher directly into Vare's neural net. The rest of the crew would prep the ship's jump drive to escape once the rewrite began, if it worked. The mission started well. The ship's guns, now synchronized with Itheri data relayed by Mira, blasted through the construct's limbs with uncanny accuracy. But Vare adapted faster than expected. Inside the core, the team was separated by a sudden shift in gravity. Reese found himself face-to-face with a shimmering avatar of Vare, an echo of himself, smiling, whispering doubts into his ear. "You are nothing without war. You need the blood." Reese, ignoring it, triggered an overload in his suit's reactor to collapse the avatar's connection. The resulting energy surge cleared a path, but his vitals flatlined. Mira didn't pause. She reached the lattice, her body crackling with heat and radiation. She was burning from the inside out. As she touched the crystalline node, her voice boomed across the construct. "I choose memory. I choose change." Light flared. Systems rebooted. All across the structure, limbs froze mid-construction. Energy flows reversed. Vare stopped. Silence followed. Then, slowly, the construct reshaped again, not into a weapon but a monument. Myra's voice came through the comms, weaker but clear. "I'm still here. But I'm not just Mira anymore." Alina leaned forward. "What are you now?" "I am Archive. I remember us all." On the edge of extinction, they had chosen not vengeance, but transformation. The Wrath Protocol never launched, because it wasn't needed. Would you like to continue with Section 4, Beyond the Rim, next? Of course. Here is Section 4, Beyond the Rim of Steel and Stardust, Humanity's Wrath Beyond the Rim, written as a minimum 700-word segment. This final section delivers resolution, transformation, and an open-ended glimpse into humanity's evolving destiny. Hashtag Section 4, Beyond the Rim. The Vindicator floated in silence above the now-dormant superstructure, adrift within the broken physics of the ghost wall. Below, Vare no longer moved. Its spires folded like petals, no longer a war machine, but a relic, quiet, immense, and pulsing with faint golden light. No alarms. No weapons. No death. Just stillness. Captain Alina Viral sat on the bridge, her face half-lit by starlight from the strange sky. Around her, systems flickered back online one by one. The silence felt heavier than any battlefield she'd stood upon. Not oppressive. Reverent. They had survived. They had changed. Reese Calder was gone, his sacrifice etched into every file system and sensor grid the ship owned. His name was now written into the archive that Mira had become. A piece of him lived in the memory of the machine, in the reborn structure, in Mira herself. Mira, now something between girl and god, hovered above Vare's primary lattice, connected in ways even Chiron couldn't fully understand. She no longer needed a suit to survive the vacuum. She no longer needed breath. She had become the interface between two legacies, one ancient, crystalline, divine, the other scarred, violent, stubbornly human. Alina opened a channel.
Mira.
Do you hear me? Her voice echoed through every console, every metal plate, every screen. I hear everything now. What happens next? Vare will sleep. It is not gone, just waiting. Changed. Like us. I have rewritten its purpose. No longer judgment. Now / witness. Chiron entered the bridge quietly, his expression unreadable. There are messages, he said, from core space. The conclave has picked up energy readings from the rim. They're sending a fleet. How long? 3 days. Alina turned toward the stars. They won't understand what happened here. No, Chiron agreed. They'll assume the worst. Deploy the protocol. And this time, there won't be anyone left to stop it. Alina clenched her jaw. Then we don't wait for them to make that call. Over the next 48 hours, the crew worked like ghosts. They transmitted a burst message toward the core, data packages wrapped in proof, footage, scans, logs of Myra's transformation, the evolution of Vare. Karen's voice overlaid the transmission, explaining not just the facts, but the philosophy. We came to confront wrath, but found memory, found legacy. This was not a weapon buried here, but a mirror. And when we looked into it, we saw who we had been, who we could become. Don't come here to kill. Come here to remember. They had no idea if the message would be believed. But that wasn't the point. The choice wasn't the conclave's anymore. That night, if time could still be called that so close to the rim, Alina sat alone in the old war chapel beneath the ship's gravity core. She lit 4 candles. One for Reese, one for Myra's former self, one for the fallen Leviathan crew, and one for the Ithari, long-dead gods who had tried to raise humanity into something better and failed. Or maybe they hadn't failed. Maybe it just took longer than they expected. When Mira reappeared aboard the ship, she looked human again. Or close to it. Her hair shimmered with bioluminescent streaks, her skin faintly translucent. She smiled, but it wasn't a child's smile anymore. It was ancient, gentle, knowing. You're leaving, Alina said. I'm not part of the crew anymore, Mira replied. I'm part of this. Part of Vare. Of what it holds. Its memory stretches back eons, and now, humanity is written into it. Alina stood. Then what do I tell the core? What do I say when they send their armies? Mira stepped forward and took her hand. Tell them the wrath is gone. The stars remember. And they forgive. Alina nodded, eyes misting. You sure you want to stay? This is where I belong. At the edge. Watching. Guiding. I won't be alone. The Vindicator turned away from the structure and began its journey back through the ghost wall. For the first time, the passage was smooth. No distortion. No pain. Space welcomed them home, as though recognizing something in their return it hadn't seen before. When they breached into known space again, the stars burned steady. Constant. Familiar. But the crew was not the same. The world was not the same. A new signal pulsed from the rim. Not in warning, but in invitation. A beacon. A monument. A choice. 6 months later. The Conclave never fired the Wrath Protocol. Public outcry over the Vindicator's broadcast, combined with Myra's strange signal echoing across 1,000 systems, forced a different path. Scholars, scientists, philosophers, even warriors. They came. The structure became known as the Archive of Fire and Memory. And it changed everyone who entered it. No one came back the same. Some never came back at all. Alina Viral retired from war, taking a position as a diplomatic envoy between the Conclave and Rim settlers. Chiron founded a new institute on knowledge sharing between species, Ithari relics now fully decrypted under Myra's guidance. And Mira? Mira became more myth than person. Some said she no longer existed. Others claimed to have seen her in their dreams, eyes glowing like suns, whispering answers to questions they hadn't dared ask aloud. But one thing was certain. The Age of Wrath was over. And beyond the Rim, something new was being born. Not of vengeance. Not of conquest. But of remembrance. And the stars, once silent, now sang again. Let me know if you'd like a full compiled version or assistance developing this into a full novel draft.